Hello, I want to talk today about my professional video about avoiding toxins. And if you can read my handwriting backwards, you are really sharp. So we're going to talk about avoiding toxins in food containers. This is a real issue where you can get a lot of leverage. You can avoid a lot of toxins without a lot of effort if you simply know what food containers tend to leach more toxins, which ones are safer. So we'll start out with a couple obvious things. First is water bottles. Ideally, you want to go with a glass water bottle if at all possible. Sometimes you can do the stainless steel. Either way is fine. But let's talk about the principles of toxin migration. So toxins tend to be transferred to food or beverages in a different way depending on these variables. And you can see the first variable here is time. So it's how long is it going to be in the container? If I'm going to go for a bike ride and I have a little plastic water bottle and I fill it before I go with just neutral pH water, it's probably fine to sit in there for an hour. But if you buy a bottled water at a store that's been in a plastic container for a year, well, that's a whole different deal. So time, the next element is temperature. What is the temperature? Because toxins migrate at a higher temperature. So for example, if you put something in the freezer at a cooler temperature, like I just made a bunch of, got some organic peaches at Costco and vacuum sealed them in plastic, of course, and then froze them immediately. So they're in plastic, which isn't ideal, but because I immediately froze them, in fact, I froze the peaches before I put them in the plastic, so they were actually really cool before that. So temperature is a really big variable. And so what that means is this, is if you drink coffee and you go to one of those coffee houses that serves you coffee in that little paper looking mug, you know what that liner is? That is toxic BPA. Like, even if they remove BPA, they put other phenols that will be proven to be worse, actually have been proven to be worse. So they just dump it in that container, and coffee is hot, it's acidic, and it's in that container that migrates toxins. There's a simple way. You just get either a glass container or a stainless steel mug and just dump it back into there, so then you're not drinking a bunch of poison. Really, really simple. That'll really help your hormones, your energy level. You'll feel a lot better. So time, temperature, moisture. You know, that's actually an interesting thing that moist foods is not something we really think about, tend to transfer toxins more moist foods or liquids tend to transfer toxins more quickly than drier foods. So if you had like a trail mix or something in a zip top bag, probably not a big deal because it's pretty dry. But again, moisture like in a water bottle or something like that. Also fat, like cheese and bacon and those sorts of things actually tend to migrate toxins rather quickly. So what I do when I get cheese, of course it does come in plastic, even the organic Amish cheese that I get, I'm really radically health conscious. So I get what's called a cheese bag. It's really cool. It's they use them in different countries, and it's like a paper bag, and somehow it makes cheese last longer. You can look them up on Amazon. So that's what I use, and there's less toxin migration in that particular case. And then the next factor for toxin migration is acidity. So acidic foods migrate toxins much more quickly. So what are acidic foods? Things like tomatoes, things like coffee, those are going to migrate toxins really quickly. So you want to make sure that if you get tomatoes, you get them in a glass jar instead of canned tomatoes. That's going to make a really big difference. Because why? Because you have time. They're in the container for a long time. Temperature, because they actually, in canned foods, this is why I do not buy any foods in any metal cans ever, ever, ever. I won't do it. I won't buy it. Because what happens is they actually cook the foods in the can. And so they heat it up to an extremely high temperature, 200 degrees or whatever it is. And then that leaches the enamel, and then it sits there and marinates in toxic. I absolutely do not buy any foods in metal containers. I only buy the ones in glass containers. I don't make any exceptions because I know what that does. So acidic foods, the other acidic food that's important to have in a glass container is honey. We don't really think of honey as acidic, but it is. It's actually about between 4 and 5 pH, so it's very acidic. So Ideally, you want to buy your honey in a glass jar unless you want other toxins in the honey. So those are the principles, and if you can remember, write down those principles, you can think it through, and you can think, okay, what foods do I have? You know, what beverages do I have, and how can I reduce my toxin exposure by knowing these principles of time, temperature, I'm trying to read it backwards too on the camera, moisture, fat, and acidity. So hopefully those tips will help you to avoid toxins, and remember this. For the past however many decades, you've been exposed to those toxins and they've bioaccumulated in your tissues. But as you know, you can do something about it by doing the sauna detox protocol. Check out the files section, get a copy of the book if you don't have a book, and feel free to message me if you have any questions. I hope you have a great day.